Alright guys, so at the starting point, still waiting for my supercharger to arrive, so I'm just playing around with some bits and pieces at the moment, doing a bit of a layout, working out where I am. This is a spare intake that came off this motor. Having a dummy motor is awesome for this kind of stuff. So basically what I've done, taken the top plenum off. On the Ecotex they bolt in half, once you got the top off them, like so, and we're left with this. So this is giving us quite a nice base, because basically this is bolts in between the V and just needs a plenum on top. So I've mocked up the rail. This is a VT rail, I think, don't quote me. Taking some injectors out to make them nice and easy to fit, just so I can locate everything. One of the parts I found most interesting is they're a modular rail. So inlet here, outlet here is exactly the same. So I simply took one of the regs off, or the reg that should be here, put another inlet barb off a spare rail, got a few, and now I have a regulator-free system. That now allows me to run an external rising rate regulator to offset the boost. The other couple of things I've got to sort out is crankcase breather. Obviously adding boost, going to add a lot more pressure in the crankcase. So the standard breathers, which is there's one just here, and the other one is just down in here if you can see it. That's usually got a T-barb on it. They're not really up to it, and I don't want it breathing back into its own intake for obvious reasons. So I've got some 14mm braided, yep, nice stuff, left over from oil cooler project. What I was planning on doing is a 1/2 inch BSP fitting down in here, T-piece, probably out and across through here, out to a breather, out to the catch can, sorry. It should be sufficient. But for now, I'm just designing my manifold, working out how high I want the charger to sit, because realistically I could go as high as I wanted here without looking too stupid. I've come to the conclusion I want about 100mm height off here, which works out to be literally need 100mm 100 by 100. So we'll probably use RHS literally for the plenum. I might not get the volume I was shooting for in the plenum, but it'll be simple enough to make. And obviously a Welsh plug up in this one or something similar. And I reckon a piece of round bar and some JB Weld will clean that up, and obviously sand the top of them. You won't be able to see they're there. The manifold's going to get acid dipped at some stage. Clean it right up and everything will get a nice coat of black paint. Alright, so that's the first part of this. I'll be back when I got the supercharger. Alright, so this is my fuel pressure reg, just the cheaper eBay $50 one. I literally plan on just keeping two. Expensive ones are expensive. I know they'll save a motor. I know, they're just not in the budget. That's all most of this build comes down to. Alright, so we've got some new bits, some pulleys, etc. Oh, what's this? So, I've started on my plenum. It might be a bit high, I'm not sure at the moment. I'm actually more concerned about clearance for the snout around the back of the firewall, the car, or I suppose the actual scuttle panel by the time it gets to there. But I might have to make something tight, not sure. It's not really adjustable here, so I have to make something work. And so that's just roughly just set up on there. It's 100mm plenum, and it looks, yeah, pretty high. I'm not sure I'm going to keep it that height yet. Keep in mind the bonnet is about here, just for reference. So we've got a lot of that out of the bonnet. But you know, every kid's always wanted a supercharger out of the bonnet of their car, haven't they? Alright. Hey! Alright, so we've got the plenum mounted. There's a lot of work involved in this plenum, and fitting it to the motor is going to be an absolute nightmare. So anyone who's worked on the Ecotex, you know you take the top off the plenum and there's 5 bolts. Pull that off, that's your top of your plenum off. Unfortunately, it's just not the room between the sidewall of the plenum and the bolt for a bolt. So basically I've got captive studs, and if we look down, hopefully we can see them, up in there. Yeah, I think I can see them. Anyway, there's now 5 nuts. They will now have to wind on at the same time as adding the fuel rails. As you can see, I've just welded some little tabs in. There we go. They'll get all cleaned up, obviously. It'll look nice, like that does. The plenum I did actually shorten. It was just too high. So it's now 60 by 100mm plenum runner. As you can see, if I put that out of the way, you can see the ports. I cleaned up the top of the ports into plenum, make sure it all cleared. Obviously the light, you can see there, it's not welded. Alright, a few other bits and pieces. So the car runs a Suzuki Baleno alternator. It was what I had on the shelf. I had a lot of Suzuki work, obviously, when I built it, and I had like 5 of them. I used to just run a 4, as you can see the mark, there's 2 marks there. I used to run a 4-rib belt, never had a problem with it. It worked fine, but obviously had to go 6-rib for this application. What a rig round. So it turns out that all the alternators I could find, there were 6-rib belts, have a 17mm shaft in them. Whereas this little baby, which is the one of the car, is 4-ribbed, obviously, from factory, and has a 15mm shaft. Spent ages trying to find one that fits, just couldn't find one. So I actually ended up buying, with a simple solution as usual, a little bushing, like a steel sleeve bushing. That 15mm ID, 17mm OD, it was 20mm long, so I had to tap it into the pulley, trim it off with a grinder, and it, perfect. Always the simple solutions. Alright, another thing is, this is the actual motor out of my car, as you can tell by the oil cooler hanging off it, and the oil on the floor. Unfortunately, those who follow know, at the last event it threw the flywheel off. I pretty much on the rev limiter and revved it a lot before it stopped. So I have pulled it apart, and most of it looked alright except for these girls. As you can see, it's not ideal. The crank itself looks perfectly fine, so pretty much saved it. I'll give the crank a nice linish. The main caps don't look the greatest either, but they'll go again. Yeah, that's where we're at with that. It's taken a fair bit of work, so I'm going to split this video in 2. I'm going to upload this one now, and I might put the last one out right before we take it to the track. Anyway, thanks guys.